Greetings and thanks for joining. Chess.com has recently released the holiday bots, and I have been counting down the days to face them. And in this game, it was 67 moves. I played the black pieces, and I'll show you how I ended up getting there, and I'll give you some tips and some hints. And if you're struggling with the Holly bot, Mrs. Claus, got some good advice that might help you. Really neat end game. I got the two pawns being pushed down on me, then the tables turn and I push up two pawns, and it's kind of a crazy end game, and I make a handful of mistakes, I confess. So I played at a 79%, Holly played at a 75%, and so let's get to it. I'll show you just the opening. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about, controlling the centers. If you're battling Holly, I assume you already know all that. So I'm skipping. I try to get my pieces out there, get them developed. And this is where I just, gosh, what was I thinking? Okay, so this is a mistake because I just talked about getting your pieces out there and get them developed. I totally should have put the knight out here. It defends that and it gets a piece developed, and I like to get the knights out first usually. And so Holly's doing the fanchetto thing, and pushing this pawn up doesn't really go anywhere, and that's what you want to avoid. Is I could have developed a piece, and so I totally missed it. And here I'm thinking, attack, and I should have just played good, clean chess. Holly is tough. I think she's a tough bot. I should have that away at, because this attack, the queen's obviously just gonna, it doesn't go anywhere. And I should have been a little more smart about developing my pieces. And now I'm getting pretty crunched up here. As you can see, my minor pieces are just doing terribly. It's move 8. I'm a long way from castling, and so that's just something to avoid my mistake. And okay, so I did that in the spirit of getting things freed up instead of just sitting here. Okay, so this, I just kind of thought, well, I got some pieces lined up, maybe I can do an exchange here, just because. And I know just doing an exchange where it doesn't take you anywhere is just a waste, and you need to be a little more creative than that. Otherwise, you end up like, some people who just start in chess, and I was there too, where you play it like checkers. It's like, I take a piece, you take a piece, I take a piece, you take a piece. Whoever ends up with the last move is usually goes on and wins the game. And so that's why you should avoid just do an exchange that doesn't do anything. It's okay to exchange, but just make sure it gets you somewhere. And I felt like this got me somewhere because it at least gets my bishop was just okay placed. My opponent's bishop was put in a great spot, key spot, owned all this. My bishop was borderline poorly placed. I couldn't go here, or I could go here, but I thought, just changing them out, and then it gets things going. I was getting so bunched up is what I mean. Okay, so that's what I did. That's why I did that. So, and here, the reason why I did this is, I did see I own this with the knight and with the queen, but I thought, if I put my queen here and this take, this actually helps me because I get my knight developed to a little bit better spot, and now my bishop is free finally. So that's why I did that. And there it is. And now my bishop is finally freed up. And I missed a lot of things. Computer says you could have done a queenside castle, and the computer knows better than I do, for sure. But I missed that in the game. I was just so focused, and this is kind of the thing, especially with Holly at 2000. Very respectable ELO, very tough ELO for me anyway, is you have to control your mind. And I get so excited, I'm just like, I get so focused on get that bishop out here, get it set up, so I can castle. Well, when you do that, you lose your ability to see other options. And so that's one of the big takeaways from this. That's something I have to control my mind with, is slow down, quit trying to force this one thing that I saw, because the board changes so much. It's ever living, ever changing. That's the beauty of it all. And things could change and you need to adapt. And that's where I fall short, because I didn't even see that. I was so focused on getting that bishop out there. So, okay. So you can learn from my mistakes there. Okay, so let's keep this going. I want to show you this end game. I think if you hang with me and see this end game, you'll see some really neat pawn ideas. I make some sacrifice, and it's all about this pawn. And so here, yeah, okay, I should have got some other things going. One of the things that I do is I like to get a major piece behind a pawn and then just push the pawn. I am all about that, and I have to, again, control myself. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. As a usual rule of thumb, it's a good idea, especially if you don't know what else to do. Okay, so I was really expecting to take there, but okay. Here, just like I just said, I'm so excited about pushing this pawn with a major piece behind it, I'm blind to other options, and that's kind of my weakness. But we need to talk about Holly's weakness in case you're having trouble defeating her. Then let's try to do that so that, okay. So I have to retreat, and so for me, the big key to defeat Holly is simply look for these little things, because at 2000 ELO, these ideas of a scholar maid or something like this, forget it. It ain't going to happen. Not at this level. And I say that to myself because I've played these bots that are in the low 2000s, and I set up these things that might work for somebody just starting in chess, but I'm wasting moves and neglecting my development because of some ridiculous idea that's never going to happen. And so here, I actually like this because I'm looking for any little thing to help me to defeat this Holly. And the reason why I did that is because now Holly has double stacked pawns, and I do not. Has one pawn that's, well, it's isolated, but it's up against the board, so, okay. But also this king is exposed now. And so it's these little things, especially when you get into such a high ELO. For me, it's a high ELO. These little things makes all the difference. I know it's going to be, pretty tight game. Let's see what we can go into the end game with any kind of little, help at all. So here, I thought about taking with the knight, and computer says it would have been a better move. Said what I did was a good move, but the knight would have been a better move. And I'll have to analyze that a little bit better. But I wanted my knight free to hop around, and I didn't want my king exposed like Holly has. But there's some other. Maybe there's a future idea of moving the king out of the way, then get this rook in here, and it's check. So maybe keeping that open does give me better future ideas if I can control that file, but okay, but that's not what happened. I used the pawn, so okay. Yeah, it is hard for me to retreat a piece back to the back rank where it started, or not necessarily where it started, just to the back rank. Yeah, I have to be open to these ideas, and that's why analyzing your game is so important. Don't sit there and play, in my opinion, if you play 5 games with a 10-minute timer or something, okay, that's cool, and you can learn some stuff. But if you play one game that takes, a couple hours or even more and go deep in the tank, now you're really exercising your brain, and analyze your games, because I never realized how many inaccuracies and a couple blunders and stuff that I make until I analyzed these games. This game here took a little over an hour for me to play. Okay, if I had a 10-minute, if I had a, you know, a blitz or a 10-minute rapid or something, no way, no way I could beat Holly. Okay, so maybe that helps you. Okay, so I got to keep this going. So because I want to get to the end game where some really cool stuff happens. So I've got a couple pawns marching down, and yeah, I should have locked up this pawn just to stop it from coming down. I got all excited about this ridiculous thing, and yeah, and now I'm in trouble. But so my theory was I'm going to create the same situation for my opponent that I'm in, because I've got two passed pawns. My opponent has two passed pawns. So I'm going to fight fire with fire, which is a dangerous idea in chess. But okay, so that's what I'm going after here. So, okay, so take, and then this, I was very surprised to see this. I was really expecting to take, but I was going to then get my pawns, these two pawns, not lined up like this, but side by side in their more natural state. And then I'll show you why, because a rook can't stop two pawns that are side by side. And so that's what I was going for here. So let's keep this going. Okay, so now I'm down. So every once in a while, you have to stop and evaluate your situation, and you know, count your pieces and so on. So I hope, you know, everybody does that. I didn't really talk about it in this game, but I assume if you're battling Holly, you probably know that. If not, you know, you can. I've got some videos out there where I battled the reindeer dash and some other bots and stuff where I talk more about that kind of thing. But okay, here, this is unstoppable. This rook cannot stop these two pawns, and we're going to see it in action here pretty quick. Okay, that's just an act of desperation. And so here we go. Now this is, I'm like, you know, hey, I got a queen coming up, and here it goes, because I'm threatening. So it takes, and now there's my queen. So now let's do the math here. So I got three pawns and no pieces. My opponent has, well, I have one major piece, I'm sorry, and my opponent has one major piece. So if you do the math, it's a queen versus rook, and so I'm very excited about this, but I'm not taking it for granted, because you'd be surprised how many wonderful end games I should have won, and I screw it up. So I'm more than capable of screwing this up at this point. All right, so I'm going to lose my pawn, and that's unfortunate, but okay. So I make some mistakes here, but I finally squeak it out. I finally get smart about this. I do a bunch of nonsense things, and yeah, I mean, one piece by itself, even the queen, isn't going to do much. It needs the help of at least the king. So I'm really wondering, I'm like, I really want to get rid of these pawns. I'd love to get it to where, you know, I can get this king down here or something like this, and then I get my queen here, and you know, take out that, make a queen sacrifice or something, and then push one of these pawns. But in order to do that, I got to get rid of these pawns. My biggest problem to keep an eye on is this guy right here. Okay, so, and I'll show you how finally I get it dealt with and get smart about it. Now here, you know, he says, or Holly says, sorry, take, and I'm sure, you know, yeah, I can't get to that pawn fast enough, so no way am I doing that. Okay, so now I'm in check, and you know, same situation. I can't, these pawns are too spread out. I can't take my king and just pick both of them off. I gotta be more smart about it than that. Okay, smarter about that. Okay, so yeah, I thought about doing that. I thought, man, I better get, you know, again, it's just the queen by itself though. But okay, I see it now, and I didn't see it in the game, but analyzing, you know, if I came up here, the king starts to come down here. Now I can start to, you know, push these pawn. I'm protected pretty well by the pawn with my king, and then I can bring my queen down here wherever. And yeah, I should have started pushing that king in that H1 corner, you know, somewhere in there. So in that area, somewhere in here. And I had the material to do it, and my king's over here too, and I'm pretty protected. So I should have started doing something like that, but I did not. Okay, so let's keep this going. See, this is a lot of dancing around. Because I missed it, now I'm just it's kind of dancing around. Holly's like, I'm not giving up my position. I'm like, I'm not giving up mine either. So, and she says, I'm not going to let you take my one hope over here. And so I was really hoping, oh, I hate to use that word in chess. Never play chess where you say, you know, oh, I hope my opponent doesn't see that this or that could happen, because just assume that they do, especially at this level. Good Lord. I was trying to go there and it's mate, but because this pawn owns that. So a little bit of hope chess there, I confess. That's terrible, terrible, terrible. Okay. So here's one thing I have to be careful of. My opponent, once Dash is trying to get me into a situation to where my king is here. Okay, I'm going to put my king here. And then they get, or Dash gets this rook, say, here. And then it's, you know, when I get out of the way, it says, hey, I'm going to take your queen. So that's what Dash is doing. But if I can get in a situation where, you know, I'm sitting here after all that, then I can retake, then I can take care of this pawn, but I can't get back to this side of the board fast enough. And my opponent will still have this pawn and eventually promote it. If they put this king on top of their pawn and walk it down, there's nothing I can do to stop it. So I have to be careful of that. So I'm thinking about that in my head with every move, Need to think about that. And so I'll show you what I'm looking for here, and there it is. This pin. Okay, there it is. A pin, and it's backed up by the knight, or by the king. What am I saying? Okay, so there it is. Okay, so I still have this. I'm still not celebrating just yet. There we are. Okay, now I am, because the king is stuck back here because I own all this. And so now I just create a box smaller and smaller. And I could do something like bringing in the king. I just do it the lazy man's way. And watch this. I don't even care about this pawn right now, because I'm just going to do this, and it's mate. So Holly, biggest takeaway is Holly 2000 Mrs. Claus is tough, at least for me. And if you're struggling with her in that mid game, look for the little things that makes the difference. The double stacked pawns, having a major piece behind a pawn and being able to promote it. That's what saved me in this game. So it's those little things that make a difference. You know, I've got a bag of tricks that I use in the 12 and 13, 1400 range, and they work great. 2000, hey, Holly's not having it. I'm just wasting up opportunities for good fundamental chess and good development. So don't fall into those traps. Anyway, I've ran my big fat mouth long enough. I hope that helps, and if it does, leave a comment below. I'd be curious to know if that helps. All right. Hey, thanks a lot. Have a great day.